In the autumn of 2024, beneath 14 meters of sand in Upper Egypt, archaeologists found something that shouldn't exist. A city, not a temple, not a tomb. A city with streets still bearing the imprints of footsteps, with pottery still stacked in storage rooms, with the kind of ordinary detail that only happens when time stops suddenly. And it had been stopped for 300-400 years. The site is called Aten, and it sits on the west bank of the Nile near Luxor, in a valley that locals have walked past for centuries without knowing what lay beneath their feet. The city was built during the reign of Amenhotep III, the same pharaoh who commissioned the Colossi of Memnon. The twin statues you can still see today, 70 feet tall, their faces still watching the sunrise after 300-400 years. But while everyone knew about the Colossi, Aten remained hidden, not lost, hidden, waiting. To understand the size of what was found, imagine a city the size of Manhattan buried completely underground. Now remove the skyscrapers and replace them with single-story mud brick structures. Now compress the timeline. This entire settlement was occupied for only about 50 years before it was deliberately abandoned, left in place as if the inhabitants expected to return. They never did. What makes Aten different from every other Egyptian excavation is the completeness. Most archaeological sites are fragmentary, walls without roofs, artifacts without context, the broken pieces of a life. Aten is a snapshot. Rooms still contain the tools left on shelves. Bakeries still have bread molds arranged for the next day's work. A child's sandal sits in a corner, small enough to fit in an adult's palm. These are not objects that were carefully buried and sealed. These are objects that were abandoned mid-moment, as if someone said, "We're leaving now," and no one argued. The city was built to house workers, specifically the laborers who built the temples and tombs that made Amenhotep III reign legendary. This is the answer to a question archaeologists have asked for centuries. Where did they live? Not in tents, not scattered across the desert. They lived here in this organized settlement, with a bakery large enough to feed thousands, with a brewery still containing the residue of ancient beer, with administrative buildings where records were kept in hieratic script on papyrus that has survived in the dry heat like yesterday's mail. But here is where the story becomes something else entirely. The settlement was abandoned suddenly. We know this because there are no signs of gradual decline, no slow exodus, no period where parts of the city were repurposed or destroyed. One day people lived here, the next day they didn't, and then sand began to move. Over centuries, dunes accumulated, the entire city sank, and the desert kept it. What archaeologists are now asking is the question that opens rather than closes. The city's layout suggests a sophistication in urban planning that we've only recently begun to attribute to the ancient world. Streets aligned with astronomical precision, water management systems that directed the Nile's flood waters with engineering that wouldn't be matched in Europe for another 2,000 years. The city wasn't built randomly. It was built as if the builders understood something about light, about water, about time itself. And here's what troubles the official narrative. Aten was built during a period when Amenhotep III was elderly, possibly infirm. It was built quickly. The mud brick was made from a specific combination of Nile silt that can only come from a particular season's flood, which means the entire city was constructed in the span of a single inundation cycle, roughly 3 months. Thousands of workers, a complete settlement, 3 months. The question no one is asking out loud is, why was it abandoned? Amenhotep III died, yes. His son, the young Akhenaten, became pharaoh and moved the entire court to a new capital city he built from scratch in the desert. But abandoning a city this sophisticated, this recently built, this strategically located, it doesn't match the pattern of any other pharaonic succession. It's as if Aten was built for a specific purpose. That purpose ended with Amenhotep III, and then it was simply left behind. A monument to something we don't fully understand. The pottery fragments being analyzed now contain residue that suggests the inhabitants ate better than we thought. Grains, fish, vegetables, evidence of a diet that speaks to economic stability and supply chain sophistication. The administrative records still being translated hint at a population that was paid in actual wages, not slaves, but workers with contracts, with rations, with a social structure that looks almost bureaucratic in its organization. Which means we are looking at the administrative machinery of an ancient empire with the same eyes we'd look at a modern city planning document. The ancients didn't just build monuments, they built systems. And Aten is a fossil record of one of those systems, complete and intact, waiting beneath the sand. What this discovery really means is this: we are standing on top of a world we don't know. Beneath the sand of Egypt are dozens, possibly hundreds of sites like Aten, complete settlements, abandoned cities, entire periods of history that we've forgotten we forgot. The ground itself is a palimpsest. Every time we walk in the desert, we are walking on top of someone's everyday life, preserved in the heat, waiting for the moment when someone decides to dig. Aten will take decades to fully excavate. The work has barely begun, but already the discovery is forcing a shift in how we think about the ancient world. It wasn't a world of monuments and tombs and the occasional palace. It was a world of cities, of workers, of systems, of ordinary life happening at a scale we're only now beginning to understand. And if Aten can exist for 300–400 years without being found, what else is down there? What other cities? What other moments frozen in sand? How many times have we walked past the graves of entire civilizations without knowing? The real mystery isn't how the city was built. It's how it disappeared so completely that it took an accidental survey and advanced satellite imaging to find it again. And that raises a question that should keep us unsettled. What do we not know about the ground beneath our feet? What are we standing on, unknowing right now?